Our first speaker was first elected to the Ontario Legislature in 2003 as MPP for Oakville. He's the longest serving MPP for the Oakville riding. He served as parliamentary assistant to the Ministers of Infrastructure, Transportation, Training, Colleges and Universities, Education, Environment, Energy, Democratic Renewal, and Labour. So please join me in welcoming the Honourable Kevin Flynn, Minister of Labour for Ontario.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here this morning, and thank you for that introduction, Andrew. And I feel like I finally found someone that had an upbringing similar to mine. During one portion of my teenage years, I actually wanted to be the Minister of Labour. And this is something that I forgot about up until a few months ago actually. I was thinking I got what I wanted. I finally got what I'd set out to do in the first place. Now, I don't have to do this for this crowd, but I'm trying to fulfill a promise. I had somebody come into my office a few months ago, and we were talking about ways that we could bring down the number of incidents we have in the province of Ontario, and certainly the number of fatalities we have in the province of Ontario related to health and safety. And the person said to me, you know, it would be really great if, no matter what audience you were speaking to, if you would start off speaking about health and safety. So certainly I don't think I need to with this audience, but I'm going to anyway to keep that promise because I think it's a very good idea. So it doesn't matter whether I'm talking to an environmental audience, to a legal audience, or to a childcare audience. I talk about health and safety because it's something I think we need to have more discussions on around the kitchen table. And I find that when I bring it up, often there's a bit of a blank stare that comes back from the audience, and I think there's a lot of people in the province of Ontario think it's not related to them. That somehow they work in an office or they work in a store, and it's not a high hazard area, and it couldn't possibly impact on their own lives. But I ask you, when I look at an audience like this, and generally the audience that I speak to are around the age where they've had kids, they may have grandkids, or they're considering having kids. And those of you that have had kids, or those of you who have been through the teenage years, might remember the day when your son or your daughter came home after they got their very first job. And the proud as punch, they just beat some other people out in an interview process, and the interviewer said, I want you to come and work here. And they're feeling pretty good about themselves, and they're going to go out there to that workplace, and they're going to prove that that interviewer made the right decision. And they're going to work their tails off, and they're going to do just about anything. And that's not necessarily a good thing. And I want you to think back to the questions that you asked when your son or daughter came home and told you they had that new job. Like me, I'm as guilty as anybody on this one. I remember what I asked. I asked how much he was going to make. I asked if they were going to give him a uniform. I asked him what hours he was going to work. And more importantly, I asked him, do I have to drive you there and do I have to pick you up? What I didn't ask him is if he felt safe there, if he understood the job, if he knew that he was asked to do something that he was unsure about, that he could do exactly what Andrew did on his driveway and say to his employer, look, I'm not sure about this. You know, I need to know a little bit more about this. I'm not going to do it until I fully understand it. So I just ask you, when you're talking tonight, maybe with your family, with your kids, with your sons, brothers, whatever, sisters and daughters, if you might just mention it. I'm not trying to turn Ontario into a bunch of preachy people when it comes to health and safety, but I think if each one of us mentioned it in our day. I grew up in a family, my dad was a skilled tradesperson, and I fully anticipated that he'd come home from work every night. When he set off in the morning to go to work at the nuclear plants that he worked in, I was quite sure I was going to see him at the end of the day. And you'll have to think that before the end of this week is out, I will probably have got a phone call or an email telling me that at least one or two people will not be doing that. That one or two families in the province of Ontario will have a family member that leaves that morning, excuse me, and does not come home that night, instead goes to a hospital, or worse still, ends up in a morgue or a funeral home. So I just ask you to just maybe mention it so once or twice when you're talking to your families. I just want to start that conversation across the province of Ontario. So I've kept my promise to the person that came in the room that day, and I plan to keep on doing that. And I'll have to tell you, the reception that I'm getting from people, when we think of it in terms of our own families, it kind of puts a different focus on it. So one of the ways that we can further the cause of bringing down the number of incidents in the province of Ontario and the fatalities is by putting a priority on occupational health and safety. I think I may be moving the screens as I go along. Well, it's perfect. Is it? Am I keeping up so far? It's not bad when your speech coincides with somebody else's slides. That's just good luck. So let me move that over so I don't keep hitting it. The value that older workers brings to the workplace is undeniable. The knowledge they have, the skill, the desire to work are all positives. We as a government recognize this when we eliminated discrimination against older workers and banned mandatory retirement in 2006. I led the consultations on that process, and it was a learning experience for me. I got to understand the aging process a lot more than I had previously, and a lot of the biases and the prejudices that I previously held were thrown out the window. But at the same time, we need to recognize that older workers do come with certain challenges. As we age, we begin dealing with issues of strength, flexibility, balance, eyesight, hearing perhaps. Some of these can make older workers increasingly vulnerable to MSDs. The answer, of course, is not to see these matters as troublesome as they develop, but we need to develop workplace practices and methods that will keep older workers at work without the risk of injury. So work-related MSDs are already, as you will know in this room, one of the most common injuries we deal with in the province of Ontario. These injuries, as you will know, mainly affect the muscles, the nerves, and the tendons. And they develop because of repetitive work. That can include typing, forceful exertions like heavy lifting or carrying, or when our limbs are put in awkward positions for long periods, extended periods of time. Now, remarkably, over 1/3 of the injuries that require time off work in Ontario are actually a result of MSDs. I'll tell you that in Ontario, in last year, 2013 alone, over 20,000 MSD claims amounted to more than 432,000 working days lost and cost our economy over $65 million in direct costs to the WSIB. Now, these are startling numbers, but as all of you know, it's not really about the numbers, it's about the people. MSDs aren't life-threatening usually, but they definitely are life-changing. Whether it's a store clerk that's stocking shelves in Windsor, or an office worker that's typing at a computer up in the nation's capital in Ottawa, MSDs can affect any worker, anywhere, at any time. The impact of these injuries can be debilitating, with some suffering constant and long-term pain that makes it hard to even get out of bed in the morning. So that's why the work you will do here today is so important. As long as one worker in this province can't go to work because of painful injuries, we all have more to do. We launched the Pains and Strains campaign to increase awareness in 2006. We wanted people to think, we wanted people to know about ergonomic-related injuries. Since then, we've created a wealth of resources, increased the number of ergonomists at the Ministry of Labour, and we've enhanced the training that we provide for our inspectors on MSD prevention. But we also encourage everyone to go to the Ministry of Labour's website. You will know it as ontario.ce/labor. We have a variety of resources there. We've got videos, we've got fact sheets, interactive tools, podcasts, posters. Contains dozens of sector-specific examples of how you can eliminate these hazards, or you can at least control these hazards. The information is available in 14 different languages, in addition to our both languages of English and French. You can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on YouTube. Sure, you can follow us on other things that I'm yet to discover, but there are 3 that I'm familiar with. You'll find helpful information, thank you, daily, and a library of educational videos. You can also find Ontario at Work on all three of these channels. Our presence on social media is all part of our educational and awareness campaigns. Since 2003, we've significantly, by about a third, lowered the number of workplace injuries overall in our province. We've reduced these injuries by almost 1/3, so that makes Ontario continue to be one of the safest places to work in all of Canada. The Ministry of Labour is leading the greatest revitalization of our workplace health and safety system currently in a generation. One of the biggest regulatory changes as we brought in is a requirement for employers to ensure that workers and supervisors right across the province complete basic occupational health and safety awareness training programs. Now, we know that that's nowhere near enough, but we know that it's a good start. We know that it gets everybody thinking. We know that it gets everybody understanding what their rights and responsibility is, whether they're a supervisor, an employer, or a worker. The requirement became mandatory on July 1st, and I knew it was working when my wife, who works at a university, came home and said, I know I've got to do something, but I don't know exactly what I've got to do. So I knew there was a buzz out there, and as people learned exactly what they had to do by July the 1st, the conversation continued. We've also developed the province's first integrated strategy to prevent injuries and improve the delivery of workplace health and safety. It's the very first of its kind for our province, certainly, and along with prevention, our ministry is taking a proactive approach to workplace health and safety through what we call our Safe at Work Ontario strategy. Every year, our ministry conducts a series of inspection blitzes. They're designed to raise safety awareness and prevent injuries and fatalities. And your support helps make this all possible. How are we doing on the slides? Your kids, maybe? I'm just about to. So, I have no idea what you've seen up there, so I don't know if it's related at all, but I hope it is. I'd like to close, now that I've shown you all the slides you're about to see. I've blown the surprise. I'd like to close by just asking you to continue to work together with us. I'll tell you there is a sincere effort at the Ministry of Labour to bring these numbers down in a number of respects. I told you we've got the incidents down. The incidents are coming down. We should be proud of that. We've reduced them by almost a third in a decade, which is excellent progress. But the fatalities aren't coming down. The fatalities remain stubbornly high, and we all need to work to do more with that. But we know that it's going to take a joint effort, that by working together, we and our occupational health and safety system partners can make a positive impact. Together, we can ensure that we protect our workers while we keep Ontario competitive in the 21st century global economy. I want to tell you how much I admire all the work you do in this room. My previous stay at the Ministry of Labour as parliamentary assistant allowed me to meet some of the people that are involved on a daily basis on ensuring that those people that go to work each and every morning, and for the evening shift and the night shift as well, we often forget about them, that they're entering safe work environments, that they understand their rights and responsibilities under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, and that if we do that, I think as a province, we can accomplish even more. We've come a long way, as I said, and I certainly am proud of the progress we've made. But I want to wish you certainly a very productive day. I know that the topic is near and dear to your hearts. I know the research that is being done is some of the best in the world. And I think if we build upon that foundation, that we can continue to build this province up in the way that we want. We've got an economy that is moving along at a pace that others in the world would like to see their own economy moving along. We've got employment numbers, although they certainly could be lower. We should be proud of where they're at when you look to our neighbors to the south, for example. And an integral part of that is ensuring that we've got productive workplaces. And it's no accident that the most productive and the most profitable workplaces in the province of Ontario are also those workplaces that take health and safety in a very, very serious way. So often when we talk about health and safety, you'll see people thinking that that we're asking them, it's an added cost to that company, it's an added burden to that company. Actually, the evidence is clearly to the contrary. Those people that treat this issue seriously, including MSDs, are those companies that have the brightest future. The more companies we have in the province of Ontario with a brighter future, obviously the better and brighter future this province has. Thanks for inviting me today.